Think about the last time you asked an AI model a complex question and got an answer that felt shallow. Maybe it skipped important steps. Maybe it jumped straight to a conclusion without showing its reasoning. Maybe it sounded confident, but something felt off, and you could not quite put your finger on what. That experience is not a flaw in the AI. It is a flaw in the prompt. Because by default, AI does not show its work. It gives you the destination without the journey. And when the task is complex, when it involves analysis, multi-step reasoning, or high-stakes decisions, that shortcut produces output you cannot fully trust. What if you could change that? What if you could engineer your prompts so that the AI thinks out loud, walks through every step of its reasoning, and lets you see exactly how it arrived at its conclusions? That is precisely what this video is about. We are covering two of the most powerful techniques in this entire course: chain of thought prompting and the reason framework. Together, they unlock a level of analytical depth and reasoning quality that most people never see from AI. By the end of this video, you will know how to use both, when to deploy them, and how to apply them to real business decisions that actually matter. Let's get into it. To understand why chain of thought prompting is so powerful, you first need to understand what happens when you do not use it. When you ask AI a straightforward question, it is optimized to give you the most direct, efficient answer possible. For simple tasks, summarize this, rewrite that, give me 5 ideas, that efficiency is exactly what you want. But for complex tasks that require multi-step reasoning, that same efficiency becomes a problem. The AI compresses its thinking, skips intermediate steps, and hands you a conclusion that may or may not be logically sound. The result is output that looks authoritative, but has invisible gaps in its reasoning. You cannot check the logic because the logic was never shown. You cannot spot the error because the steps that led to the error were never laid out. And you cannot build on the analysis because you do not know how the AI got there in the first place. Chain of thought prompting solves this by doing something elegantly simple. It instructs the AI to reason step by step, out loud, before delivering its conclusion. And the effect on output quality is dramatic. Research on chain of thought prompting consistently shows 4 significant improvements. First, it forces explicit reasoning. The model shows its work, making the logic visible and verifiable. Second, it enables error detection. When the reasoning is laid out step by step, logical flaws become easy to spot. Third, it supports complexity management. Difficult problems are broken down into manageable pieces, each handled in sequence. And fourth, it ensures thoroughness. The AI cannot skip important considerations when each step requires a deliberate response. The architecture of a chain of thought prompt is straightforward, and that simplicity is part of its power. Here is the basic structure. You state the problem clearly. Then you explicitly invite step-by-step reasoning. Then you define the steps you want the AI to work through, and you ask for a conclusion that is grounded in that reasoning. In practice, it looks like this pattern. To solve this, think through it step by step. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Therefore, the answer is... Let's see this with a concrete example. Here is a standard prompt. A store has a sale where if you buy 2 items, you get the third at 50% off, with the discount applying to the least expensive item. How much will I pay if I buy 3 items costing $85, $40, and $55? A standard prompt gets an answer. A chain of thought prompt gets an answer you can verify. Here is the engineered version. A store has a sale where if you buy 2 items, you get the third at 50% off, with the discount applying to the least expensive item. If I buy 3 items costing $85, $40, and $55, how much will I pay? To solve this, let's think step by step. With that instruction, the AI will work through it methodically, identifying the least expensive item first, calculating the discount, computing the original total, then subtracting the discount for a final answer. Every step is visible. Every piece of logic is checkable. And if there is an error anywhere in the chain, you can find it and correct it. That is the power of making the AI show its work. Mathematical problems are a clear demonstration of chain of thought in action. But the real value for most people shows up in business analysis, where the stakes are higher, the variables are more complex, and the reasoning matters enormously. Here is a chain of thought template built specifically for business analysis scenarios. To analyze the situation thoroughly, break it down step by step. Step 1. Identify the key factors and stakeholders. List and describe each one. Step 2. Evaluate the available options. Describe each option with its pros and cons. Step 3. Consider potential outcomes and impacts. Detail the possible results of each option. Step 4. Apply relevant frameworks or principles. Use appropriate analytical tools. Step 5. Weigh the trade-offs and constraints. Compare each option against the key constraints. Step 6. Recommend the optimal course of action. Provide a justified recommendation. Notice what that structure does. It does not just ask for an answer. It maps the entire analytical journey the AI should take before arriving at a recommendation. Each step builds on the one before it, creating a coherent chain of reasoning that you can follow, evaluate, and challenge if needed. This template works across an enormous range of business decisions: market entry analysis, resource allocation, strategic prioritization, vendor selection, pricing strategy, team structure. Anywhere the quality of reasoning matters as much as the conclusion itself, Chain of Thought delivers. Chain of Thought gives you step-by-step reasoning. The Reason framework takes that one step further, giving you a complete analytical protocol for the most complex, high-stakes tasks you will encounter. Reason is an acronym, and each letter represents one stage of a structured analytical process. R, reflect. Before doing anything, the AI considers the problem carefully. What is really being asked here? What are the underlying assumptions? What would a thorough answer need to address? Reflection prevents the most common analytical failure: rushing to a solution before fully understanding the problem. E, explore. The AI investigates multiple approaches rather than defaulting to the first solution that comes to mind. This is where alternative paths, unconventional angles, and non-obvious options get surfaced. Exploration prevents tunnel vision and ensures the final recommendation comes from a genuine evaluation of possibilities. A, analyze. The AI breaks down the chosen approach in detail. This is the deep work: examining the evidence, stress testing the logic, identifying dependencies and relationships, and building a rigorous case for or against each option. S, solve. The AI works through each step of the solution methodically, applying the analysis to arrive at a specific, well-reasoned answer. This is not a guess or a generalization. It is a conclusion built on everything that came before it. O, observe. The AI checks its own work. It looks for logical inconsistencies, factual errors, gaps in reasoning, or places where the conclusion does not fully follow from the analysis. This self-verification step catches the kinds of errors that typically only appear during revision. N, notify. The AI presents its final answer with full justification, clearly explaining the reasoning that supports the conclusion and flagging any areas of uncertainty or limitation. When you apply the Reason framework to a complex task, you are essentially running a full analytical protocol. Not a quick answer, but a rigorous, self-verified, multi-stage analysis that produces output you can genuinely rely on. Here is how Chain of Thought and the Reason framework work together in practice. Think of them as two tools on a spectrum of analytical depth. Chain of Thought is your go-to for structured analytical tasks: business decisions, problem solving, evaluations, and any situation where you need the AI to reason through a problem in a clear, logical sequence. It is fast to build, flexible to apply, and dramatically better than standard prompting for anything analytical. The Reason framework is your precision instrument for the highest stakes, most complex analytical challenges. The tasks where a shallow answer could lead to a costly decision, where multiple stakeholders will scrutinize the output, or where you genuinely need the AI to function as a rigorous analytical partner rather than a quick answer machine. Your practical challenge for this video is a two-part exercise. First, take a real business decision or analytical task you are currently facing and build a 6-step chain of thought prompt using the business analysis template from this video. Run it and compare the depth and quality of the output against how the AI would have responded to a standard version of the same question. Second, identify your most complex, highest stakes analytical challenge right now. Something where getting the reasoning right really matters. Build a reason framework prompt for it, working through all 6 stages. When you see the output, pay attention not just to the conclusion, but to the quality of the reasoning that supports it. That is the real value of these techniques. Let's bring this together. In this video, you learned why AI skips its reasoning by default, and why that matters on complex tasks. You mastered the chain of thought structure and saw how it applies to both everyday problem solving and business analysis. And you now have the reason framework, a complete 6-stage analytical protocol for your most complex, high-stakes challenges. These 2 techniques change the fundamental nature of what AI can do for you analytically. You are no longer getting answers. You are getting reasoned, verifiable, step-by-step thinking that you can follow, evaluate, and build on. In video 6, we shift to something equally powerful but completely different: format and output control. You will learn the format framework and discover how precisely engineering the structure of your AI's response saves enormous amounts of time, eliminates manual reformatting, and delivers output that is ready to use exactly as it comes back. It is one of the most practical, immediately useful skills in this entire course. See you in video 6.